Welcome to Bridge Academy, Episode 2, The History of Computing, The Birth of Numbers. Introduction. In our previous Episode 1, we explored how ancient civilizations like the Sumerians used tools such as the abacus to count, calculate, and manage growing economies. This marked the beginning of computational thinking using devices to extend human mental ability. But as societies became more complex, so did their need to communicate ideas, store information, and protect it. Counting was no longer enough. People needed systems to represent abstract ideas, record data, and even share information securely. These needs gave birth to what we now call symbolic systems, mathematical notations, alphabets, and eventually encryption. This episode focuses on the cytale. It is one of the earliest examples of secure communication. The cytale. It is an ancient cryptographic device used by the Spartans. It might seem like a small step, but it was a major milestone in the history of computing. The cytale represents not only an early form of encryption, but also the emergence of the idea that information could be encoded, protected, and unlocked, a concept that lies at the core of all modern computing systems. The cytale was used by the Spartans, an ancient Greek warrior society known for their discipline and military strength around the 7th century BCE. During military campaigns, Spartans needed to send orders and updates quickly and safely across long distances. Speed was important, but so was secrecy. If an enemy intercepted a message, it could compromise an entire mission. The cytale solved this problem by allowing messages to be scrambled and hidden unless the reader had the correct tool to decode them. The device itself was simple. It consisted of a wooden rod or staff and a strip of parchment or leather. To write a message, the sender would tightly wrap the strip around the staff and write across it in straight lines. When unwrapped, the letters appeared jumbled and unreadable. Only the person with a rod of the exact same diameter could rewrap the parchment and read the original message. In modern terms, the diameter of the rod acted as a key secret needed to unlock the information. This was one of the first times in recorded history that a physical object was used to control access to data. Although the cytale was mentioned in the works of the Greek poet Autolycus in the 7th century BCE, its function as a cryptographic device wasn't clearly described until much later, around the 1st century CE, by the historian Plutarch. While it's unclear exactly when the cytale began to be used specifically for encryption, its design reflects early human understanding of the need to protect sensitive information. This historical emergence marks an important point. People had begun to recognize that not all messages should be openly understood, and that systems could be built to hide meaning intentionally. The cytale also introduced the foundational concept of a key in encryption. In today's digital world, encryption keys are used in almost everything from protecting your emails to securing bank transactions. While modern keys are digital and often complex strings of numbers, the basic principle remains the same. Without the right key, the message remains locked. The cytale's use of a shared key, the matching staff, shows how early civilizations began to think about data not just as something to share, but something to secure. Other ancient cultures developed similar symbolic methods to hide or transform information. In ancient Rome, Julius Caesar used what's now called the Caesar cipher to protect military orders. His method shifted each letter in a message by a fixed number of places in the alphabet. For example, A would become D, B would become E, and so on. While simple by today's standards, this shift-based cipher helped secure communications in a time of frequent warfare and political unrest. It was another early example of humans using mathematical logic to obscure meaning. In ancient India, encryption was even recommended for personal communication. The Kama Sutra, written by Vatsyayana around the 3rd century CE, included advice for men and women to learn how to write and interpret secret messages. This shows that the idea of protecting information extended beyond war and governance. It was seen as valuable in personal relationships and daily life as well. What ties all these examples together is the shift from raw counting to symbolic reasoning. Whether through secret codes or mathematical systems, humans were beginning to process and manipulate information in abstract ways. This laid the groundwork for modern computing, where everything from algorithms to artificial intelligence depends on representing data using symbols, logic, and structured systems. The development of symbolic systems was also closely linked to the birth of mathematics itself. Once humans began using symbols to represent numbers, they could perform calculations more efficiently, write equations, and solve problems across time and space. This transformation from physical tokens and objects to written symbols and logic was a critical step toward the development of written language, programming, and even artificial intelligence. Summary: the story of the Scytale gives us a fascinating glimpse into how ancient civilizations began to protect and structure information. It shows us that long before computers, people were developing tools and ideas that would become central to the digital world. The Spartans' use of the Scytale introduced the basic idea of encryption using a shared key, a concept that remains essential in cybersecurity today. Through the Scytale, the Caesar cipher, and even secret writing in ancient texts like the Kama Sutra, we see how human beings have long used symbols, codes, and logic to solve real-world problems. These early cryptographic systems helped people send messages safely, keep personal information private, and begin thinking of information as something that could be shaped, hidden, and revealed. The birth of numbers and symbolic systems marks the next step in our journey from counting stones to coding computers. As we continue this series, we'll look deeper into one of the most powerful ideas in math and computing history: the invention of zero and the development of place value, which completely transformed how humans understood and used numbers. Thank you for watching. Not forget to like, share, and subscribe.